there. I thought we'd talk about some of the vocabulary that we're going to see this week because I think the vocabulary definitely helps you on the assessments. And if you want to download this vocabulary sheet, I will link it below so you can download and fill in the blanks. But you don't have to. You definitely can just take notes on your own. But I think understanding what the words mean are going to be very important for us. So I think it's worth our time. So let's see. Something helps people make ethical and decisions and projections. And so this one is accurate data. I think sometimes we don't consider like our source. Where did this data come from? When was it collected? How was it collected? Who did we collect data from? All of those questions are very important to the accuracy of our data. And we can only make a good decision when we have data that we can rely on. And so checking the accuracy first, I think, is going to be a really big deal. And I hope you will agree that that's something that we definitely want to spend time doing. Okay, the second one then. When we research and present data, it should be objective. This just means that we don't want our feelings clouding any of our research or in how we present data. And so, one couple of ways to avoid that is definitely have someone look over your data as well before you present it, just to make sure it's a little bit of accountability, and also to make sure that you're presenting it in a way that people can understand it. So if I do a lot of research and I present it with this elaborate spreadsheet, but no one on the planet can understand that spreadsheet, what good did that do, right? So if we can be objective and we can present it in a way that people understand, then that means that shows that our research and our data is well received and people understand and can use it there. Okay. Misleading data is often a result of bias. Bias is hard to avoid. We all have it, whether we want to or not, whether we think we do or we don't. We can make strides to minimize bias, but it's going to be really hard to avoid it. And a lot of times, misleading data is a result of bias being involved in the research. So we have to be very careful. We have to make steps towards minimizing the bias. Again, not that we can eliminate it 100%, but we can make strides to avoid it and minimize it. Okay, number four, research bias is one of the most common forms of bias. How we select the people for our research, how we select the location for our research, all of that bias can affect the quality of our research there. And research bias is one of the most common forms of bias. Okay, reliability is the consistency of data over time. So that means that I can consistently get the same result each and every time I collect the data the same way. So if I ask a 6-year-old today if they like lollipops, is it reliable that 8 out of 10 of them today are going to say yes they do, and 8 out of 10 of them on Friday will, and 8 out of 10 of them next month will, and 8 out of 10, like that's the reliability of our data. Now, if it doesn't, then our data is a little bit flawed. Maybe we should have researched more 6-year-olds than just 10. So it's something to think about. Correlation explains how two variables are related. Correlation explains how two variables are related. So if it has a positive correlation, then that means that as one value goes up, the other goes up. If there's a negative correlation, that means that as one value goes down, the other value goes up. Does the opposite, but they are related. Now, correlation can also have a strength. Is it a strong correlation? They definitely affect each other every time, or is it a little weak? Sometimes they affect each other, but the correlation can many times tell us how variables are related. Okay, for number 7 then, falsification is distorting data. This can take on many forms. It can look like it is leaving some of the data off. It is changing some of the data, right? And then fabrication is inventing the data. So let's say the research was to survey 100 teenagers. Well, if you only did 50 of them and then just duplicated the results, that's fabrication, where the data was just invented. I love number 8, one of my all-time favorites. I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something, but I cannot accept trying. And that is a quote by Michael Jordan. Arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. Now, you may be a little bit biased. Maybe you think LeBron is the best, but Michael Jordan definitely had some really good quotes. And he said, everyone fails at something. Maybe, mine might be at running my first 5K. But he says, I can't accept someone not trying. Let's continue on with number 9. Knowing what to study is a big challenge to business research. So let's say we have a shipping problem, right? And we're not sure exactly what the problem is, other than we're just not getting product out on time to our clients, to our customers. And so knowing what to study, what to research, what to figure out is a big challenge. And so we have to do that first, right? We have to decide what the study should be before we can continue on. Once we decide what we're going to study, then we can look at the people we want to collect data from. These are referred to as the who in the study, and this is called the population. This is where we're going to collect the data. It could be from our customers, could be from our clients, could be from our employees, depending on what we're trying to decide, what we're researching. Now look at number 11 then. Qualitative research involves interviews and case studies. So this is where when you do qualitative research, you're recording what people say. You're summarizing what they say. You're looking at case studies. You're looking at the words that are involved in the research. Okay. Number 12 refers to numerical data, and this is quantitative research. So this is where you're collecting numerical data and you're running some tests on it. Maybe you're calculating the average, the mean, and the mode. Maybe you're performing some other statistical tests on that data. But if focuses on the numbers, then it's going to be quantitative research. If it focuses on the words, the interviews, the case studies, that's going to be your qualitative research. Then you can have another type of research. It's called mixed methods. Mixed methods research combines both of them. So this is where you're looking at interviews and case studies and all of the words and things people say, and you're looking at the numerical data. As you can guess, mixed methods is very much more work, much more difficult, but you probably get a more comprehensive review. Just so you know, when you pursue a doctoral degree, you have to choose a method. Are you going to do qualitative, where you're talking about the words and interviews and case studies? Are you going to be quantitative, where you focus on collecting numerical data and running your statistics? Or are you going to do a mixed method? At the university I attended, you were not allowed to do mixed method. You had to do quantitative or qualitative. And that was because the mixed method was very, very difficult. Obviously, math instructor, I chose quantitative, just so you know. Okay, so our next one then is number 14. When we present data, we must present it to promote accurate interpretation. Meaning, when I present data to my boss, to a group of clients, I want to present it, excuse me, and present it in a way that they are able to take the data and interpret it for themselves. I don't want to show the data in a way that leans them toward a particular end thought or a particular summary or takeaway that I maybe want them to have. So I don't want to mislead them. I want to present the data and I want to let them make their own decision. And that's where we have to present it in a way that promotes accurate interpretation. Okay, number 15. We interpret data based on validity, how valid it is, and mathematical reasoning. This week, we're going to have a chance to present some data in a chart. And we want to show the data to be valid, and we want to use mathematical reasoning to interpret the data. Meaning, you're going to be creating a bar graph this week. And in that bar graph, you want to definitely show the bars in relative height with each other. Meaning, if one bar should only be 50 higher than the other, I don't want to show it as if it's like 1,000, right? I want to show it in accurate, so it can be interpreted correctly, but I want to also show it so that it is based on mathematical reasoning to be interpreted correctly. Okay, I've got just a few more for our vocabulary here. Look at number 17 here. Common ways to display data includes charts, tables, and I mentioned the bar graph that you're going to create for this week, and graphs. So we have seen a lot of data presented in these ways. You may have heard the phrase that says a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a chart is two, a table is two, a graph is two. We can convey a large amount of data with very few words if we do it in a chart, table, or a graph. We just have to make sure we do it correctly so that it can be interpreted correctly. Okay, circle graphs. Circle graphs here, also known as pie charts, are used to display the relationship of the parts to the whole. You may have seen a circle graph done with regard to expenses in a household budget, right? Showing that we want 25% of that household budget going to housing. And we want 15% of that household budget going to food and so forth. And all of that is shown in a circle graph, and that circle's cut up into each of the sections for the parts of the graph to show how much of the household budget is being allotted to that particular expense. All right, two more to go. Four generally accepted ways to present data are tabular, that means in a table, and textual, that means in words, semi tabular, meaning you have some in a table and some in words, and the last one is graphical. Now, notice that it doesn't say that these are the only ways to represent data. It's the ones that are generally accepted. So these are going to be the ways that you see the data sent to you, advertised to you. It's either in a table, words, or in a graph, right? Or maybe it's a mixture of two. So something to think about. Okay. And the last one is frequency tables. Frequency tables show the number of items that fall within an interval. These are nothing more than a little bitty, not a little bitty. Let me show you just an example. Let's say I want to survey um, kids in a high school. Okay. I'm just going to record how many, when they walk in the door, I'm going to ask them what grade they're in. Okay. And so let's do grade and we'll do number of students. Okay. A frequency table would show us the ninth graders. Now, those could be 14, 15-year-olds, right? We could do 10th graders. That's going to be some 15-year-olds and some 16-year-olds. You get the idea, right? It's in an interval. And so every time a student walks in the door, I just put a little tally mark. Next kid in. Okay, next one's a ninth grader again. 12th grader, right? Like you get the idea, right? All the frequency table does is says, okay, there was two ninth graders, there was one 10th grader, two 11th graders, one 12th grader. Do you see it? It's just a table with some hash marks totaled up, right? That's all a frequency table is. But it shows the items that fall within a particular interval. So I hope that helps, friends. This was a lot of fun. Breaking down what the terminology means, I think, helps us when we're trying to not only answer the questions in the assessment, but when we're trying to understand the concepts for this week as well. So thanks so much. As always, if you have questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I would love the opportunity to help. Bye for now.